BTS News Today. Dusk had just cast its golden glow over the city of Busan when the news began to quietly ripple through fan communities, slowly but surely turning into a storm that swept across social media. Are You Sure Too? The long-anticipated follow-up to last year's emotionally resonant travel documentary was rumored to have entered production. But the real surprise wasn't just the continuation of the project. It was the return of the two names that once captured millions of hearts. Park Jimin and Jimin Jungkook. What was happening with them? Why had this rumor reignited the curiosity of armies around the world? And why did their presence in Busan this time feel different? More emotional, as if something from their past had been left unfinished. Jimin stared out at the open sea from the balcony of the traditional Hanok-style guest house they had secretly rented along the Haeundae shoreline. The ocean breeze tousled his hair gently, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Behind him, the soft sound of footsteps approached. Jungkook emerged through the sliding wooden door, carrying 2 cups of warm tea, still cold. Jungkook asked softly, his voice deep and calm as always. Jimin simply nodded and took the tea without shifting his gaze. The sea remained their silent escape from cameras, from the public eye, and maybe from their own hearts. It had been over a year since Are You Sure? A documentary filled with laughter, adventure, and quiet tears was released to widespread acclaim. Many called it one of the most honest projects they had ever shared with the public. But behind all the smiles on screen, no one knew the full truth, because the cameras had never captured everything. Busan felt different this time. Quieter, calmer, as if the city itself was giving them space to breathe. But the silence seemed to stir something long buried. On the way to their first filming location, only soft music played through the van's speakers. Jimin sat by the window, his gaze wandering. Jungkook, sitting across from him, glanced over occasionally. There was something in Jimin's eyes that felt unfamiliar. Something Jungkook wanted to ask about, but hadn't yet found the moment to. Finally, as they waited for the crew to finish setting up cameras on a hilltop in Songdo, their first filming spot, the chilly wind made Jimin pull his jacket tighter. Jungkook walked up to him and said, "Are you sure you want to do this again?" The question held more weight than it seemed. It wasn't just about the documentary. It was about them. Jimin looked into Jungkook's eyes for a long moment before answering softly, "Are you sure?" A small smile curved on Jungkook's lips. "Funny, that's the same question you asked last year. But the answer's different this time." The following days of filming became something like a quiet therapy session. At every location, be it Jigaoki Market, Gwangali Beach, or the narrow alleys where they used to wander during their trainee days, memories surfaced uninvited. There was laughter, of course, but there was also a silence that spoke louder than words. In that silence, Jimin and Jungkook began to understand the things they had long ignored. Too busy being idols, too busy acting strong in front of the world. In one moment, the camera accidentally captured Jimin sitting by a campfire, eyes glistening and voice rough. "I'm scared," he whispered. "I'm scared this will all just become a memory. I'm scared that once this project ends, we'll end too." No one said anything after that. Jungkook simply moved closer, sat beside Jimin, and held his hand. No words were needed, but the crew who witnessed that scene understood immediately. It wasn't just for the documentary. It was something real, personal, deep, and heartbreakingly fragile. As days passed, rumors about their relationship began to surface again. Not just fan speculations hoping for sweet moments, but because there were simply too many signs pointing toward one conclusion. Something between Jimin and Jungkook had been left unresolved. Was it love? Was it pain? Or perhaps both? Their agency chose not to comment. But what caught attention even more was the statement of one of the documentary crew members, accidentally caught on a fan's camera in a cafe near the filming location. "They're too real," the crew member said to a friend. "I forgot I was filming a documentary. It felt like watching two people trying to heal themselves through each other." The climax of it all came on the final night of filming. Their last location was a hidden spot only the two of them knew. A small hill with a wide grassy field overlooking the ocean. A year ago, they had ended the first Are You Sure? There, laughing as they lay in the grass. But tonight felt different. They sat side by side, lit only by stars and a small lantern between them. The cameras had long been turned off. The crew had given them privacy. I prepared something, Jungkook said suddenly, pulling a folded letter from his jacket. What's that? Jimin asked, a bit startled. A letter I wrote after we came back from the first Are You Sure? Last year. But I never had the courage to give it to you. Jimin stared at the letter, hesitant. I'll just read it, Jungkook said, and he began. The words flowed like a river waiting to burst. He spoke of feeling lost without Jimin by his side, of guilt that lingered like a shadow, of feelings buried for too long. By the time Jungkook finished reading, Jimin's tears had already begun to fall. Why did you wait so long? Jimin whispered. Jungkook answered, because I was afraid. But tonight, I'm more afraid of never saying it. The next day, news about them exploded. Are You Sure Too? Immediately became a global trending topic, even before an official teaser was released. Armies flooded social media with theories, emotional reactions, and hopeful messages, but Jimin and Jungkook remained silent. Not because they had anything to hide, but because, for the first time, this story didn't belong to the world that it belonged to them. And maybe, this time, they didn't need to say anything at all. In the final scene of the documentary, when Are You Sure Too finally premiered months later, one moment shattered viewers' hearts. Jimin and Jungkook sat side by side on the hill, the ocean and twilight sky behind them. They didn't speak. They just looked at each other and smiled in that silence. One sentence appeared on the black screen. Sometimes, the answer isn't yes or no, it's the courage to stay. And as the screen faded to black, only one thing remained. Feeling. The sense that something between Jimin and Jungkook couldn't be explained, only felt to journey. A confession, a quiet courage to stay, even as the world kept changing. Are you sure? Now we know, they had their doubts too. But they chose to stay. For each other. And that was the answer. That night in Busousan stood as a silent witness to the steps of two hearts tied in a rhythm they had never been fully free to follow. When Are You Sure Too wrapped filming, the city seemed to hold their entire story in a hush full of meaning. From the waves of Gwangali to the sound of footsteps along the narrow paths of Bupyeong Market, every corner stored fragments no outsider could ever truly understand. That night, Jimin sat alone on the balcony of their guest house, wearing a gray hoodie pulled over his head. He stared down at his phone, not to scroll social media or reply to messages, but simply to look at his wallpaper, a photo of him and Jungkook laughing backstage at a concert last year. The photo radiated stage lights, laughter, and what looked like perfect togetherness. But who knew what they really felt that night? Soft steps came from behind the glass door. Jungkook appeared, this time without a word. He sat on the floor beside Jimin, hugging his knees and staring at the stars that slowly emerged above. They didn't speak for several minutes, just existed beside each other. And sometimes that was enough. Do you think we'll change after this? Jungkook asked suddenly, his voice barely above a whisper. Jimin sighed. I think we already have. We just never admitted it. Silence again. Do you think people will understand? Jungkook added, still gazing at the sky. No. But it's not their job to.